Okay, now meet Jodie. Jodie reached out to me in an email with some concerns about her hair. So in this video, I'm gonna walk through those specific concerns, and more importantly, how she can get a more youthful look. Now, while this may look like a normal hair mistakes video, I can assure you it is not. So whatever you do not skip around in this video. There is some really important information, as well as a big surprise that I don't want you to miss. But first, let's read her email.
Justin, I think my hair struggles are similar to many women who appear on your YouTube channel. My hair is fine and has thinned considerably in the last few years. For these reasons, my hair lacks volume and any style I attempt ends up being pretty flat. I am a big fan of you and your practical advice. I have put many of your tips to work already, but I am looking forward to getting some advice on what hair length/style would be flattering on me specifically. Kind regards, Jodie.
Okay, let's talk about the concerns. Now, the first concern that Jodie mentioned is that she's just lacking volume. Now, the reason that's happening for her is because if you look at the texture of her hair and the length that she has, and you couple that with the lack of actual layering that she has, she doesn't really have much layering. Those things combined are not going to give her the ability to really create any volume in her hair. Are there tricks that she could use to get a little bit of root lift in certain areas? Yeah, potentially. But one, they're going to fall out, or that volume is going to fall out. And two, typically those tricks are only going to give a little bit of volume at the roots. And that's not really volume, that's just root lift. We need volume if we're really trying to create shape. Now, one other concern, talking about layers, is that she's got a lot of layering in the back, basically from her shortest layer, which is at the bottom, down. So that bottom area is overly layered. And then she doesn't really have any layers in the front. And so what this is doing is kind of creating two different haircuts. The other side concern that we're seeing based on this length in the front and the layers in the back is that the layers are actually shorter than the length in the front, than the layering technically in the front. And so what that does is it creates this illusion of a bob and then hair that sits there. So there's two different haircuts. Whenever you layer hair in the back, it pushes hair forward. And so when it pushes that hair forward, if there's no layering that's as short as the layers are in the back or shorter, then it ends up making it look like you've got this long bob, but then this hair back here isn't a bob shape. So you've got two different haircuts. Does that make sense? So these two things aren't really working together. I always say that if you're gonna have layers in the back, they need to be as long or longer than the shortest layer in the very front. So if you have no layers in the front, then I wouldn't put layers in the back. And if you're gonna do layering in the front, then start that shortest length and then make sure that the back layers are either that length or longer. Oh, and if you're new to me, my name is Justin Hickox, and I've been doing hair professionally for about 30 years now. And sometimes on this channel, I take you on adventures like I am today while I teach you about hair, and sometimes I'm at the salon. But yeah, if it's your kind of content, hit the subscribe, do all the things. Okay, I'm gonna try not to die. Now, her second concern is that she wants to draw the attention away from her chin area and kind of up her face. You wanna lift the focus, right? Is essentially what we're doing there. I can do that at this length, I can do that at this length, I can do that at this length, and I can do it equally as effectively at any of those lengths. What it's gonna come down to is 100%, what length do you feel the best in? And then we take that, how do we morph that length into the best possible shape for you? And to do that, we kind of need to do a few different things with the volume and where it sits in her hair. Right now, the front is so long and heavy, it's just not capable of opening her up enough and creating volume in the right places to do that for her. So right now, she has a lot of fine hair, okay? So it's a very dense amount of fine hair. And that hair texture tends to be really hard to create volume in it. So when you have the front, especially at the length that it is right now for her, about the collarbone, it doesn't again allow you to really layer it in the back, and therefore that one length just has a tendency to get very full and kind of triangular shaped, and it does the opposite, which is draw the eye down the face versus drawing the eye up. Now, compounding that is that little bit of layering in the back that we talked about in concern number one. And see, the thing with that is that kind of layering pushes hair forward and making it even heavier and harder for her to get that back off of the face. Layering is a necessity, and I know a lot of people think that, not you, but a lot of people think that fine hair can't handle layers because it'll only make it look thinner. And in reality, fine hair needs layers to be able to get light enough to create volume and shape. It's just that it needs them done correctly, and if they're done incorrectly, they'll make it look thinner. If they're done correctly, they make it actually look thicker. So even if she was able to style it off of her face and open her face up a little bit more, so we do start to draw that attention up away from the chin, it's not going to stay there because that hair in the back, that layering in the back, the kind of layering in the back, and the lack of layering in the front, those two things combined specifically, is going to mean that it's always going to fall forward and be just kind of heavy. So we need to layer the front and we need to layer the back to break this shape up enough for her to create volume where she wants to create volume so she can get the focus on the areas that she wants to get the focus on. So for yours, the way we address that is we bring those layers, that length, up to where those layers are now basically one length in the back. And then we would layer this stuff up here. So you can still have layers, you can get the volume, but the ends look a lot denser. So the layers will work for you versus right now they're actually kind of working against you. Anyway, concern number 3. Okay, now Jodie's next concern is that her hair seems to be thinning over the past few years. Now, this is not uncommon, especially unfortunately as we age, right? There's so many different factors that can play a role in this. It could be stress, color to cover grays. You know, things start to get a little bit more aggressive and that can lead to damage, and then hormonal changes or imbalances, nutritional changes, or again, deficiencies in specific nutritions, like deficiencies in nutrients. Wow. Act like you've been somewhere before, Justin. So while we're at a state where all of these changes are happening, we're also at a state where we are doing more extreme or aggressive chemical treatments that are more damaging to hair that is also many times more susceptible to that damage and to breakage because of it. In Jodie's specific case, it could also be that she's seeing the ends looking thinner because of that layering. So it could be a combination of all of this stuff. I always say that if you look in the mirror or you feel like you are starting to lose hair, first thing is get some blood work done. Just check to see if there's anything going on. If it is a concern like female pattern baldness, something like that, then oftentimes I find really good results with minoxidil. I use it myself. I'm not telling everybody to use it. I'm saying that you should definitely get, things checked out, talk to your doctor, or go through a company like I always talk about, Alloy. That's generally the kind of routine that I gear people towards, and it's the exact routine that I myself use, and I think it's great. It actually works really well. Again, I am not a doctor. I am not giving medical advice. Blah, 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 all the stuff that I have to say, because someone will yell at me for not saying it. Okay, so I got all the way up there, and yeah, it's so foggy. You can see the fog is still even kind of rolling in over here, that you couldn't see the view that I had in mind. Very long story short, I actually hiked up here years ago, like 12, 15 years ago. And I hiked up this little area, looked out, and there's this overlook, and you could see Mount Hood. It's a sunny day, but there's this dark cloud at the summit on one side, and it's clear on the other side. And it was very dramatic, and at the same time, very relaxed and calm because of that juxtaposition of those two things. It was kind of amazing. And for whatever reason, I looked up and I was like, I need to go stand there. Like, I need to go see that. And that was the thing that got me really into hiking weekly, if not more, and mountain climbing. Like, that was the catalyst. And that's the reason that I bring you on adventures while I teach you about hair. So let's talk about the last concern, concern number 4 that Jodie has with her hair. You did mention that the crown seems to part or split and you see your scalp through, and that's more of a concern for you. This is so common, and there's a couple of ways that we can address this. First of all, we can always go shorter. It's because longer hair tends to part, kind of does this, right? And then when you get it very short, it kind of just like gets meshy and it does like this. So it hides that stuff a little bit better. But just to understand, as hair goes shorter, it tends to look a little bit denser. It'll help to not only get a little bit of control out of that area so that it doesn't want to just do what it wants to do, which is part, but also it'll help it to look a little bit denser and kind of hide that scalp a little bit more. And the concern with this is that that's all dictated by the length. So if your hair is a certain length, you have to leave the layers in the back a certain length or long enough to balance with the overall length of your hair. And if we're really talking about getting shorter to the point where it actually helps that cowlick concern, we're talking about taking that hair quite a bit shorter. I mean, like, that long, for instance, before we really start seeing the benefits of that technique. With all of that said, we are not going to be able today to take your layers short enough to really give them a ton more control. So theoretically, yes, taking it shorter would help, but you have to be able to take the length up to where you can get those layers short enough to see that benefit. Now, I have a secret weapon that I use that I think works a million times better, if I'm honest, and it doesn't even concern with any sort of length. It doesn't matter. And that is hair fibers. Now, I've talked about these multiple times in other videos, but they are an absolute game changer, and I hate that word. a lifesaver when it comes to hiding the scalp. You just spray them in. They totally hide everything. You can't see any of that concern anymore. It makes it look a lot denser. That's what I would recommend. I love how the fog is just rolling through. That's so epic. Also, it's getting much foggier here very quickly. I think the walk back is going to be interesting. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 options that we can do with your hair, different styles, and then I'm going to allow you to choose which one. I want to preface this. None of them are incorrect or correct. They are all going to look equally as good. Option number 1 is that we leave the current length and we break the layering up in the back as well as in the front. I break the layers up in the front a lot. So we basically address this major concern we got going on here. I layer the back, bring those layers up a little bit more. So you end up with the same rough length that you're at, but we completely modify the overall shape within this length to create a lot more movement, a lot more volume, and kind of draw the eye where we want to draw it without removing all the length. So that we can get more of that volume where she wants the volume to create the illusion of bringing the eye up the shape versus drawing the eye down the shape. So this would draw more emphasis to the cheekbone structure as well as to the eyes and take it off of the lower part of her face that Jodie has a little bit of concern with. Now, the only issue with this one is that while it does have a lot of great versatility, she could still easily get it up. It's still a very obviously a comfortable length for her. It still wouldn't address the concern, which is the layering at the bottom. And in fact, once we layer those layers in the back even up a little bit more, it could potentially even look a little bit thinner in some ways. It would be a good option. If I'm honest, I don't think it's the best option. Okay, now option number 2 is that we actually bring that length up to roughly the shoulder length. We go up a bit. So we're getting closer into sitting on the shoulders. A very similar shape, but we're gonna also break this layers up in the front, break the layers up in the back. The pro to that one is that now because we're going shorter, kind of like you mentioned earlier, we are now capable of taking those layers in the back a little bit shorter. And that gives us a little bit more room to create a little bit more volume, breaks the face up a little bit more, takes the bulk out of here a little bit more. Most importantly, it gives us more room to take off the bottom that's starting to look thin because of the layering. It gets us back up to where it's stronger so that baseline looks a little bit stronger. But then the layering in the front and the layering in the back would help to open up that shape again a little bit more, taking more of that volume away from the bottom, creating more volume up in the top where she wants it, and accentuating more of the cheekbone structure, eyes, etc. But on top of that, because we bring that length up shorter, we're able to take the layers in the back a little bit shorter as well. And that means that we're gonna be able to lighten those up a little bit more to help create a little bit more foundation for Jodie to create volume at home around the top. So all in all, I think this is definitely much more in the direction that I personally would recommend. So the third option is that we actually bring that length into kind of a lob shape or a longer bob. We're starting to get up off the shoulders into the neck. We're going quite a bit shorter. The layers will be similar to what they were, but not dramatically shorter than the other shape. So we'll add layers in the back. We'll break up the front a little bit, but we still need a corner to come forward to make that bob. So we'll have a little bit less layering in the front. We'll still have some softness so you can like tuck behind your ears. So there's still a lot of versatility in that. Jodie did mention when we were talking that she would like to do wave. She just has a hard time creating it. But she does have a tool that will help make that a lot easier, and I believe that it would be pretty straightforward to show her how to utilize that tool. But to allow for that, there are certain things that I need to do with this haircut to really make it all kind of come together. And part of that is we definitely need to layer it because we don't want to have too much bulk on the sides. Just bringing that length up by itself is going to immediately create a lot of volume on the sides. So we don't want to layer it in the front quite as much because we need that little bit of corner that creates the actual bob length. But we do still want to have some layers so that it's not too heavy. But that means that in the back, we also want to be a little bit careful about how much we layer it at this length if we're going to do it wavy. Because if you layer the back too much, sometimes the wave pattern can get a little funky and kind of hard to manage. So sometimes having a little bit longer layers helps to get more of a consistent amount of wave. And if I want to give her the option of being able to do it wavy or straight, then I kind of want to take that into consideration. Now, the problem that this is going to create is that because we aren't layering it a lot, because of the amount, the density of Jodie's hair, it's gonna have a tendency to get a little bit fuller on those sides at the bottom ends where we don't want that fullness. And by not layering it so much, I'm kind of not doing what I really need to do to take that bulk out, or I'm not being as aggressive as I could be. So I'm kind of weighing the pros and cons here, if that makes sense. There is one thing though that Jodie did mention that I think will help this a lot, and kind of opens me up to being able to do something like this and have some wave on it. And that's simply that she likes to tuck it behind her ear. Now, the minute we tuck this behind her ear, it's going to taper it a bit more right at the ear. It's going to open her face up. It's going to help create the illusion of a little bit more volume up around the temple. And all of these things kind of work together to offset that little bit of extra volume that's going to be on the side. You might think, well, there's a little bit too much volume on the side. And I believe you would be correct. But allowing this to tuck behind the ear really offsets that a lot. So it still works for me. And realistically, this is much closer to what it would actually be like on Jodie. So it gives me a better representation of how that shape would feel. And I think it actually could work. Now is the moment of choice. Drum roll, please. Which of the 3 options do you think you want to go for?
If there's any time in my life I should just take a chance, it's now. So I'm going to go with the 3rd option.
We've got the 3rd option, buddy. Oh, I'm excited. Are you? You should be.
Yeah, sorry, I saw your picture and I'm like, I want her to do this cut. Like, so why didn't you just tell me?
Okay, are we ready? Take a deep breath. Open your eyes.
Oh my gosh, is that my hair?
Do you like it?
Yes.
It's a big change.
Yes, it is a big change. I love it.
Do you like it?
I actually have a hairstyle.
It's
I thank you so much.
Do you really like
it?
We have a surprise for you.
Yes.
So
This is enough of a surprise.
They are the tools that I use on purpose. We have more for you.
Thank you so much.
Our good old friends at Life and Timo wanted to make sure that everybody went home so that they could have the same tools we use.
Well, thank you so much.
Now you have backups in case
Now I
you
have
ever,
backup. Now
or if you ever
I
travel.
could just travel once.
Yeah.